Hey, so 2 weeks ago, I got my hands on one of these, the Fujifilm X100VI or the VI, whatever you call it. Taking it around with me, taking some photos with it, took some video with it, and I kind of just wanted to talk about it. This is not a heavy tech spec review, as there are a million of those out there already. This camera's been out for a whole year, so it's kind of just talking about what it's been like to shoot with, using f-log 2, and some problems I've run into as well. So if you're wanting to look for some practical information, feel free to stick around. Oh, and if you don't know me already, my name is Stanley, and I like to keep things simple, so yeah, let's get into it. All right, just to start with some simple accessories that I've put on this thing. It's not too much. I've got the LensMate thumb grip on here. The thumb grip was actually made for the X100V, but it fit, and I was grateful, so I threw it on there. It's awesome. I like that it, kind of just opens like that, so you can get to your dial easier. Next, I've got the small rig base plate on this thing. I didn't really want the grip. It is a really nice grip, but I kind of enjoyed using the X100 as it was. I just wanted something for the bottom of the camera because I just, if I'm outside, I just want to put it down on the ground and not worry about it. It's nice. I've also got this shutter button, whatever you call that. And finally, I've got Glimmer Glass 1 on here. And the reason I chose the Glimmer Glass was because this is a crop sensor and it does way better in low light than the X100V did, but I really needed to make sure nothing was affecting my light transmission. I needed 100% light transmission because I could use all the light I can get. So that's why I went with the Glimmer Glass 1. If you have any questions, feel free to ask below, but it's pretty awesome. Now, I know I'm not the first person to say this. You're gonna want to pick up a camera that makes you want to take more and more photos. If you've got a camera that's a big bulky camera and you don't want to leave your house with it, then it's gonna end up on a shelf collecting dust, and none of us want that here. This camera always makes me want to pick it up for more than just the reason of it being practical. It just looks cool. I love posting things on my Instagram story, and when I set it on a table, there's been so many moments where I've taken my phone out and just taken a photo of my X100 sitting on a table because it looks so cool. And it's also a camera that a lot of people stop me about, right? I think there's only been 2 cameras that I've had, the Leica SL2 and literally any X100 camera I've ever owned. The Leica, because I think it just has Leica written on the front of it, so people were like, ooh. And then the Fujifilm, just because I often get asked if it's a film camera, and it's pretty awesome. It looks awesome. Other than the looks, you get the aperture ring that also has a sweet click to it as well. I do love the way this camera is built. It feels rock solid, and yeah, it also came with a bunch of upgrades that were pretty welcome. One of those upgrades was IBIS, and I know this is going to be a weird take on IBIS. I was actually kind of not a fan. I know everyone is. In-body image stabilization is really important when it comes to cameras. It's a great feature, but I used to work on phones, and those stabilization, the thing that held it together would often break. A lot of people I've met that rode motorcycles, because it just would shake. This thing is just kind of shaking around when it's turned off. I was a little worried. My X100V didn't have that feature, so it wasn't a problem. But yeah, after my first day of using IBIS and getting a really clean shot with low shutter speed, and just for video, it's a sacrifice I'll make. I think if I go to Six Flags again, I'll just bring my iPhone and I'm gonna be okay with that. And another feature that I really enjoy is the built-in ND filter. It's a 4-stop ND built into your camera. That's not new to the X100VI. It's been around for as long as I can remember, and that is a welcome feature considering this thing also shoots f-log 2. It has been clutch because, again, I like to keep the Glimmer Glass on the front. This thing is pretty video capable, and I really didn't want to have to put an ND on the front of the glass. So to be able to have that built-in ND plus the Glimmer Glass on the outside, it's been awesome. It's something that I really, really love about all the X100 cameras, especially this one. Shooting experience is as incredible as it's always been. I feel like the X100 cameras have always just come up with some crazy images. I've taken some of my favorite photos of all time on an X100, whether it was the original that I had or the V, and this thing just took that to another level by giving it a 40 megapixel sensor. And one of the things I love about that is there is a digital teleconverter that kind of, just like the Leica, it just acts like a 50 mil. There's a few different focal lengths that you can kind of crop into. It doesn't give you the compression. It's like a digital like zoom, crop, whatever, but it's still pretty awesome to have. The 35mm on the X100 cameras have always been my favorite. I feel like when you get a prime lens on your camera, you're forced to have to move around to compose your image, and I really appreciate that. I'd rather spend time trying to figure out how I want to compose my image than which focal length is going to be the perfect one for this image. Now, the camera's not perfect. The autofocus, while most definitely improved from the X100V, I've definitely missed subjects before, and although it doesn't like, it doesn't bother me too much. It's something that you definitely have to babysit if you're trying to take video or you're really trying to nail a subject. Although not fantastic, like, you know, Canon, Sony, all those guys, it's still really good. Again, for this little thing, I'll take it over bringing a humongous camera with me any day. All right, let's finally talk about video. This thing has F-Log 2 built into it. It's got IBIS and it's got a built-in ND. I don't know if I could ask for a better camera in terms of a walk around EDC type situation. The city I live in just typically has a bunch of really cool restaurants, has a bunch of cool coffee shops, and I've always wanted something that wasn't just my phone to kind of just, you know, kind of film some clips here and there. I love to put those things on my Instagram story. This thing having F-Log 2, it's something I've always wanted to kind of mess with. I personally use a Sony and a Canon, so I have access to S-Log 3 and C-Log 2, and those are fun to work with, but those camera bodies, again, are just a little bit more pro than I want to be walking around with. Now, that being said, this is not some super filmmaking tool. You can capture some serious footage on this thing. From my understanding, it does overheat in about 20 to 25 minutes. I have not personally experienced that, but I believe it. It's, you know, a very small body, probably hard to fit a fan in here, and the ports are also just not there. There's no full HDMI jack, and it's, I believe, a 2.5 millimeter audio jack, so you do need a bunch of dongles if you want to rig it out. But yeah, again, this is not some feature film camera. There are plenty of options for that. This is an EDC. Let's talk about some downsides. First things first, it's really hard to get one of these. I kind of just threw my name on the list one day, and I really kind of forgot about it. If you're trying to get like one used on like some sort of a website, it's most likely going to be a few $100s over what retail would be, and it's really hard for me to tell anyone to spend over $2,000 on this camera, considering things like the Sony a7C II exist. You know, in the Lumix S9, you can get a bunch of different cameras around or cheaper this price range that will also perform very well. Next would be battery life. One thing I forgot to add to my accessories list is I bought a second battery. Small Rig luckily makes batteries for this camera, and I definitely needed one considering the first day I took it out. Probably started my day around like 10, and my battery was at its single last bar by maybe 4 or 5 p.m. Not a lot of video. Majority of what I was doing that day was just photos, but the battery did go down quite a bit. I get it. It's powering a crazy sensor, so I get it. Finally, and probably the most important thing to me, is that menu system. When I get a camera, I like to try to learn everything I can about it. So when I'm out on a shoot, I'm not trying to find a setting. And I do that for my Sony and my Canon because those are my work cameras. This is something I pick up as an everyday carry because I just want to go out and have some fun. And I feel like, unfortunately or fortunately, whatever, you do have to kind of sit down and try to get to know this menu a bit, because I remember I was out, I knew this had an ND built into it, but I was trying to, it wasn't like built into a very obvious place for you to find it. So I kind of really had to sit there outside and kind of just go through the menu all over the place trying to find it. I also somehow then ended up sticking it onto my custom menu. Didn't know how I did that. Don't know how to take it off. So I just reset the entire camera and started from scratch, but that's a me problem. The menu system is not that simple to get around. I highly recommend, if you get one of these things, take some time, sit down, get to know where things are. It's going to make your life a lot easier outside. All right, so 2 weeks in, honestly, this camera is just really fun to use. For me, it wasn't really much about the specs. It was more about how it fit into my workflow. I've always wanted a camera this tiny that I can kind of just carry with me on an everyday basis, but if you hang out with friends that know you're a photographer, sometimes they may ask you, hey, like, can you take a photo of me real quick? And you still want to do a good job for them. And I feel like between the V and this camera, that problem was resolved for me. Those cameras both performed extremely well. It's very small, very powerful, and I understand what I have with me, so it's kind of just nice to know I can get a lot done with a camera this small. If you're eyeing one of these cameras, I would kind of take a second to ask myself what I'm looking for out of the camera. This thing is pretty special. F-Log 2, IBIS, built-in NDs, small form factor that looks sick. It's a pretty awesome camera. So if you liked today's video, please feel free to hit the like button, leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and if you want to see some more simple videos of me talking about camera gear that I use, feel free to subscribe, and I will see you at the next one. Peace.